Know this about psychologists in Denmark. I've been a clinical psychologist for 8 years. Today I want to talk to you about what you should know before choosing an unlicensed psychologist. It's not illegal to set up a practice as a psychologist in Denmark without being licensed. I do not know the exact numbers, but I know that there are some unlicensed psychologists who do open their own practices. As I've done a video of the details of a licensed psychologist, I thought I'd also talk a bit about unlicensed psychologists. As an experienced licensed psychologist, I know that I can give you some useful insights into what you should know before signing up for treatment with an unlicensed psychologist. In my experience, people do not know the difference between licensed and unlicensed psychologists. They just Google psychologist and pick one who writes that they work with whatever the client is looking for. A psychologist is someone who has completed a Master of Psychology in university. The difference between an unlicensed psychologist and a licensed psychologist can be boiled down to whether they have a stamp of approval from the government or not. This is usually linked to the psychologist's amount of experience and training, and your options for financing of the treatment through insurance or health services. Therefore, choosing an unlicensed psychologist will mean that your psychologist has not yet gotten a license, or in worst case, has lost their license. Many factors come into play when considering what psychologist to choose. One of them is price. Sometimes how much a session costs can be a deciding factor, as therapy can be expensive. Unlicensed psychologists often offer their services cheaper. Here it's important that you keep in mind that most often you get what you pay for. An unlicensed therapist will likely be less experienced, less knowledgeable, and thereby less efficient at helping you. Maybe it's not so, but what grants a license to a psychologist consists of the amount of hours of work done and hours spent with supervisors checking if the psychologist is doing their job ethically and correctly. I never think that treatment should be taken lightly. This also applies to psychological treatment. I therefore urge you to keep in mind, are you perhaps more likely to get more efficient therapy with a more experienced psychologist? And are you thereby getting to pay for fewer sessions? So the savings of choosing an unlicensed psychologist equals itself out? Also know that insurance doesn't cover therapy with an unlicensed psychologist, nor is it covered by the state health funds. It can be useful to think about that the psychologist license is a stamp of approval of experience and training beyond the university degree. When you have a university degree in psychology, you get the title psychologist or unlicensed psychologist. What a psychology has at that point of finishing university is a lot of theoretical knowledge. Having read about something is not the same as having put it into practice and done it many times. With choosing a licensed psychologist, you know that they have put the theory into practice and have done it many times. One last thing to keep in mind is that an unlicensed psychologist can be a psychologist who has not yet earned their license due to lack of experience, or they can have lost their license. A psychologist can have their license removed by the government if they have performed unethically, unlawfully, or providing unsound treatment. So the stamp of approval can be removed again due to bad conduct. You can look up if the psychologist has lost their license, but it is a bit difficult to figure your way around the government homepage and data. If your psychologist is unlicensed, they're not under the scrutiny of the government, and you'll not be able to complain about their practice or behavior. Or you can complain, of course, but it will not have any professional consequences for them, as the only consequence for a psychologist is that they can lose their license. If you still want to move forward, keep in mind, as for the licensed psychologist, you should be critical with regards to if you're getting the help that you need and if you feel that the psychologist is helping you reach results. You can at any time question your psychologist on how they practice and see if you feel satisfied with their answer. It's your mental health, and you should be allowed to ask how they think they can help you. A good psychologist would never be insulted, but be ready with an answer of why they do as they do, and be transparent about their methods and knowledge. You can also ask them if they're getting supervision on their work, or if they have a network of support for their professional practice. Remember to be just as critical as when choosing a doctor. That way, you don't pay to become a guinea pig for a fresh out of uni psychologist with no training who just rented a room. I think this was all we had time for. What was your takeaway from today's video? As always, feel free to take away the information you can use, if any, and leave the rest. Hopefully you found today's topic made sense and I didn't waste your time. Please subscribe or like this video so my channel can grow. Take care and see you for the next one.